Hello, and welcome back to my channel. This is Autistic Reviews, the series in which I review media with autistic characters on the basis of how good of a representation they are. First of all, I would like to say sorry that it's been so long since my last video. I wanted to get this out sooner, but oh well. As a little update for why I've been absent for so long, well, I've been trying to find a job, and surprise, I found one. I'm working at a local movie theater now. This is my first real job. I've had it for a month now, and it's been going pretty okay so far. Anyway, for this video, I am reviewing the autism episode of a PBS children's show called Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. First, I'd like to clarify that this episode is my first bit of exposure to the series. I haven't even heard of it before this episode was released. So a little background about the show. It premiered on September 3rd, 2012 on PBS Kids. And from what I understand, the show is meant to be a sort of spiritual successor to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The series itself is based on the neighborhood of Make Believe, which is a part of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The show stars a 5-year-old tiger named Daniel, who is sort of based on Mr. Rogers. And each episode of the show has two 11-minute segments. The show itself has even won some awards, such as the Parents' Choice Awards in 2013 and 2014, and they even won a Daytime Emmy for Children's Animated Program in 2019. Now, let's discuss the plot of the episode. The episode has two parts. First being called Daniel's New Friend Max. In the episode, Daniel is at school where he meets a boy named Max, who happens to be autistic. The teacher, who also happens to be Max's aunt, explains that Max is autistic and about how he is different. The rest of the episode is about how Daniel and Max learn to play with each other. In the second episode, a new friend at the clock factory, Daniel Tiger and his class are visiting a clock factory for an event called Chime Time, but the bright lights and loud noises are overwhelming for Max. So they end up accommodating Max by doing the event without the bright lights and quieter. Now let's talk about what I like about the episodes. There are many things that I like about it. For instance, I like that the diversity the show went with for the character. Max is black, which is nice to see because there is not a lot of diversity currently in autistic representation. I've always said I'd love to start seeing more diversity when it comes to representation, so I'm happy to see this. I also really appreciate that the show used identity-first language in saying that Max is autistic. It might not seem like a big deal, but a lot of media with autistic characters I've seen will say person with autism, or use a euphemism for it, such as on the spectrum. The latter of which is much worse, in my opinion, because they won't ever actually use the word autism in the show, so it's nice to see. Another thing I really like is when Max is feeling uncomfortable from how loud the class is, they put a weighted blanket over him, and the teacher says it makes him feel like he's getting a nice cozy hug. This might be my first time seeing an autistic character using a weighted blanket, which is strange because they're so useful. I have one myself and I really love it. There's also a pair of soundproof headphones that Max wears in the second half of the episode that I really like. I also appreciate the way that they describe Max's sensitivity to loud noises. The teacher explains to the class at one point that something that might sound okay to you might be too loud for Max. Another thing I appreciate is that they didn't go for the trained special interest stereotype that I've seen a lot of other kids' shows do. Instead, his special interests are buses and bugs. I also like that there's an emphasis on the ableistic people making accommodations for the autistic character. There's a song that they sing a lot in the episodes that goes something like, when a friend has different needs than you, there are some things that you can do. Instead of the focus being on what the autistic person can do differently, there's the emphasis on how the ableistic people can do certain things differently to accommodate us. You can also sometimes see Max stimming with his hands, which is a nice detail that I appreciated seeing. The show also went out of its way to hire an actual autistic person to play the role of Max, which gives it bonus points for me. I always appreciate when autistic media hires actual autistic people to play our parts. And finally, I like how accessible the episode is. Not only is it available to watch on PBS's TV channel, but the episode in its entirety is available to watch for free here on YouTube on the PBS Kids YouTube channel. It even has accurate subtitles. I don't really have many things that I dislike about this episode, but I will say that I hope that Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood does something similar to what PBS's Arthur did with its character Carl. In that show, the autistic character had an introductory episode much like Daniel Tiger did, where an established character meets a new autistic character in school and learns about autism and how they are different, but that's okay. But in the later episodes, Carl shows up occasionally as just another character, like any other character in the series, and is allowed to be a character in his own right. So what I'm saying is, I hope that Max in Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood becomes more of a regular character rather than just a one-off. I'd love to see him involved in the plots of future episodes, without it necessarily revolving around his autism all the time. I don't know, hopefully this makes sense. So overall, I thought this is a really good episode that should benefit both autistic and ableistic kids, though I would certainly like to see the show expand on it and use this character again for future episodes. So, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.